Hola, buenos días, es Nico.
You can play with her. You can even play with them. But you won't play with me.
So today, sorry, this is like my 5th time recording this. I'm hoping that my energy is just right because I'm tired of hitting the play button. So essentially we're going to be talking about a conversation that could be a little bit divisive, but it's very prevalent in today's dating landscape and I kind of wanted to address it. I don't recall addressing it in a previous video, so I'm just going to do it directly here. Before we get started, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me at patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics so that we can continue to provide you with this weekly content that you enjoy. But yeah, let's get started. We're going to be talking about going with the flow. Nico, what do you mean? So going with the flow, in my opinion, let me give you the definition first. Going with the flow is essentially when you talk to somebody. Nico, what's talking? It's dating without commitment. When you talk to somebody and you never push for a title, you never try for commitment, you're just in a gray space, which leaves a lot of room for error. What do you mean? Well, essentially, when you're going with the flow and you're talking to somebody, you are not in a committed relationship. Meaning that you can talk to other people, you can sleep with other people, you can blase, 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 and that doesn't really have an end. What do you mean? Well, you know, people they basically ruin the dating cycle by adding stupid phrases like, we're talking, we're dating openly, but now we're dating exclusively, or we're dating it's just, essentially, you get to know someone, couple of months. You're dating, couple of months. You're dating exclusively, couple of months. You might get a title, or you're just gonna keep going with the flow. And I can tell you that from experience. What do you mean? I've been in a situation where I've been going with the flow, and it was the biggest waste of my time. And you know, I don't normally talk about my personal shit like on YouTube, maybe on Patreon, but not on like YouTube. But essentially, I was in a off and on relationship for multiple years, and we talked straight for 6 months the last time. Nico, yes, I'm one of those bitches that I don't do hookups. I don't like meeting new people. I would rather just try to work it out with somebody that I already know. Stupid bitch, I know. It never works. But yeah, essentially, I was in a relationship for 6 months long the last time. And every time I would talk about what are we, because we've been dating for 6 months, I would just be told, let's keep it how it is and just go with the flow. And essentially, that meant he would get all of the perks and privileges of having me as a pseudo boyfriend, but he would still be allowed to do whatever he wants. And I mean, I also had that liberty, but it's an unspoken rule while going with the flow and dating non-exclusively, that you're not supposed to actually entertain other people, but they still want the freedom to entertain other people. And if they do entertain other people, you can't get upset because you both agree that you're both able to entertain. It's just a mess. It's a mess. And I was going through the ringer. And I remember at one point I was like, you know what? We should just stop. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, we should just stop because obviously you have a fear of commitment. And that's what I want to boil this down to. I really do believe that going with the flow after a certain amount of time is just people embracing their fear of commitment. Nico, yes, a lot of people in today's dating age have a fear of commitment. Like, you could be in a relationship, quote unquote, for like 6 to 7 months and bitches will still be like, we're just talking, we're just going with the flow. And I'm like, we're going on dates, we're hunching raw, I see you multiple times a week, we talk all day every day, what the fuck are we? Like, I never understood people that want to drain that emotional and intimate energy from you, but never actually want it to lead anywhere. It's like an endless siphoning of your energy. And I personally do not have an abundance of energy to spare. Maybe it's because I'm an insomniac, maybe it's because I don't like foolishness. But what I will say is that I no longer go with the flow. And I tried going with the flow, but doing that, I realized that I am a relationship type of bitch. I always tell you guys, I don't be hooking up that much, especially now in today's landscape. Things have changed. Bitches are not the same, that kind of thing. So it's like, I am a relationship type of person. I go from long-term to long-term to long-term. And I'm okay with being single, but when it comes to romance and sex, I would just prefer a relationship. So I tried the going with the flow route for a minute, but it just tired me out because at a certain point, you realize that it's going nowhere. At a certain point, you realize, okay, I'm just wasting my time. So then you have to still entertain them because now at this point, you're attached to them to some degree. You're still entertaining them while still opening up your own horizons because you have to embrace the liberties of being able to do what you want because they're doing what they want. And I'm not that type of person. If I'm in a situationship with somebody and it's to the point that we're both still actively searching for somebody else, I am not going to continue entertaining you. It's going to get to the point where I'm just like, okay, this isn't working, so I'm actually going to go over there and put my energy over there. And that's what I ended up doing. And it was for the best. I do believe, because it's not like I don't like the person. Like the reason why I was going with the flow in that scenario was because I did like the person. And it was my off and on ex for like 4 to 5 years. So I mean, I know the person very well, but it's just, I can tell that this time it's not going anywhere. And I've been in a few situations where that's been the scenario with other people, but with them, it's because I don't have familiarity with them. I don't have a history with them. So it's not like I'm actively latched onto them. So if I find something better, if I find somebody that actually wants to commit, I could just drop it. But in that scenario, a bitch thinks with my heart. Actually, that's the thing. It's like, most people are like, oh, I think with my dick. No, I think with my heart. If my heart is like attached to somebody, I understand I come online. I'm like calculated. I'm very precise with my wording. But I am actually a very emotional person. It's because I usually bottle up all of my emotions because I grew up in a house that was not warm after I got outed. So I went long periods of my life not feeling anything. So now with all these bottled up emotions, whenever I do find somebody to let it out on, I just like overflow with emotions to the point that it's probably trauma related. I'm recording this video and realize I have some trauma because I related to Cassie from Euphoria. You get into a relationship and you just throw all caution to the wind and fall head over heels for somebody. And that's usually because of abandonment issues. And I thought that was interesting. I think that's interesting. I just pieced that together. YouTube is my therapy session. But yeah, definitely drop your opinions down below. Are you one of those people that goes with the flow, or do you see how messy it can be? Do you see how it's a possibility of investing your time and your emotions and it never actually leading anywhere? So definitely give me your opinions on that scenario, or basically the dating landscape as is, because I mean, we've already talked about the talking stage. We've already talked about, you know, how it's essentially through a corkscrew inside of the dating timeline where you're supposed to court, you're in a relationship, and you're done. But yeah, definitely drop your opinions down below.
And once again, a quick thank you to all my patrons on Patreon, and a quick shout out to my third eye tier patrons. Your support means everything to me and helps me do this a lot more smoothly. I will also be listing this week's live stream topic in case anybody wants to join in on the fun. I will see you guys there.